Hey, everybody, this is the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
And I'm Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys so much, as we do every single time we do this damn thing, for not only listening to us beat off, but also watching us beat off. Because like we said, the visual, I think, is such an important thing. So
I mean, yeah, I think some would argue and say that the visual is more important. Just hearing it. You know, I've heard, I've gotten comments about
visually
that. Yeah.
Stimulating.
Yes.
Oh, totally. It's
yeah.
I like it. It's good. We can do that. I mean, you know, we're visually doing this from a distance, but I'm super hip to it. You know, I think it's great.
Yeah, it's healthy. We're being healthy.
I like that. I think it is very healthy. So, William, how are you doing over there? I miss you a lot. How have you been? I'm
doing well, and I don't miss you, if we're going to be honest.
Oh, of course.
You know,
it was expected.
That's it for the show. Thanks. Take care.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Subscribe. Give us your money.
Yeah. No, I miss you a ton. I'm hoping we're getting closer and closer to being able to play live soon. I think that's coming. I do.
Yes, I eagerly await the vaccine. Now that they have the old Johnson & Johnson one, which is the one dose, no side effects, no hospitalizations. Dude, I am like so pumped for this. So I'm excited. I'm very, very, very looking forward to this and just getting back going again. I miss playing. I miss the band. I miss the boys. You know.
Yep.
It's a tough one, but important. Most important right now. Enough about all that shit. Let's get down to the real thing. I may have done some sort of sacrilegious thing with our normal trend of tea and mugs, because I have a Wawa coffee in a cup.
Ooh, but
Don't
you know
hate
what?
Me, please.
I'm not actually, only because it says Wawa on it, because that's the best, and there's no argument.
That's fine. I would say for those of you guys listening at home, if you're on the East Coast, you know what Wawa is. If you're not on the East Coast, I apologize and I feel sorry for you, honestly. A lot of people say New Jersey's state bird is the goldfinch. It's wrong. That's completely wrong. It's this goose right here. This is
right.
Our state bird. It's the Canadian goose, and the Canadian slang is they call it a Wawa. Fun fact for you, right there.
Tell your friends.
Because of the noise that these geese make when they're in the parking lot trying to block your car from pulling out. So when they're not hissing you and chasing you with their damn children.
Yes.
So,
oh man.
Let's do a nice sip with this guy. Do you have anything to drink, William? Over there in the William cave?
I just have water. I'm embarrassed about it, and
that's okay, dude. It's good for your body. Don't be embarrassed. You know.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a try. Let's see if we can get the same.
Let's give it a big, gross, annoying slurp. Here we go. Let's take it, buddy. Let's take it. Oh, you got a better one than I did.
I inhaled most of that.
I said, how much of that made it into your lungs? Because that's what sounded. Most of that went to your lungs.
90%.
Oh boy, good lord. Well, I'm happy that we get to do this damn thing even from a distance. This is our 23rd episode right now. Is that where we're at?
Woo! I'm glad somebody's counting. It's getting up there.
I think it is. I don't know. Just with all the royalty checks coming in, I can't even keep track anymore.
We're just sitting at home counting our money.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I'm just doing like a big cannonball into it. But before we get into our main question for this week, or our main topic of interest, Will, what time is it right now?
It's the big beat of the week.
All right, Will. So for the big beat of the week for this week, what you got for me? Because I'm loving this little segment that you're doing. I like that you're coming with some cool stuff to the old conversation podcast here. What you got? What's the big beat of the week for this week?
I got a little something that's hot off the press. Probably as hot as that coffee you're drinking right there.
It is very hot, yes.
Okay, good. It's got to be. This is a super group that just kind of was just dropped recently. I think their first track came out on Friday. The group is called Silk Sonic. Silk Sonic.
Oh, and it has in it, yeah.
Do you know? Yeah,
it has two of our Lord and Saviors in this group.
Yeah, I mean, do you even know what their names are? I mean, they're small. They're smaller names, I think.
Little independent band. There's a gentleman. His name has a planet of some sort in it. I want to say it's Uranus, but I think I might be wrong.
Uranus Holmes.
So I'm gonna go with. I think it's Uranus. What the fuck is Uranus Holmes? I would say it's Bruno Mars.
Oh, that's him.
I believe one Anderson Paak or Anderson Paak, if you're properly pronouncing both of the A's.
True,
but dude,
yeah, it's
you sent me. You sent me this John because it was. See, I'm drinking the Wawa coffee, so I said John. I didn't even mean to. It was a week or two ago. You sent me an article about Bruno Mars's new band with Anderson Paak, and I was like, oh my God, because this thing's like a super group, because literally everybody in that group plays just phenomenally. And then they dropped a track, and you sent me that, and you were like, dude, like that was like all caps. You're like, dude, listen. And I was like, holy shit. So what was your first take listening to that damn thing, or the news that this super group was going to be happening? Because it's like I mean, funk is going to be making a massive comeback. I mean, honestly.
I mean, the news alone, I just couldn't even wrap my head around it. That collab kind of just came out of nowhere, which I think is great. But you have two of like the best musicians out there in the game. As far as like all around talent, they both bring it all. And to see them kind of sync up is wild to me. And then just to top all things off, towards the end of the article, they mentioned, oh yeah, and by the way, Bootsy Collins is going to be part of the group as well. And I'm just like,
that is what
could this get any better? Any better?
Oh my God, dude.
And
absolutely just monstrous.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better group, and the song definitely exceeded my expectations. And if anybody hasn't checked it out, just please go listen to it.
I would say, is there any doubt in the world that wasn't the smoothest looking room of guys? Like, good Lord, like the vibe in that room was incredible.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the playing, is just as good as the looks. I mean, and you sent me a video about somebody actually breaking down the engineering and the mixing behind it, and it is so good. And using some older mixing techniques that have been around a long time, and to see that somebody's using it today and making it sound like $1 million is sweet. I mean, what was your first reaction when you were listening to it?
Well, I mean, the one thing Anderson Paak is no slouch. That guy is like, he needs more credit as just a player and a musician, because the fact, first off, like that's what I paid a lot of attention to, is his drumming so tight in the pocket and singing while playing drums, and with some of those hits he's doing, like a lot of syncopated stuff in that song, was just like so impressive. But I mean, everyone in that room was, or in that recording, it's because I know the room was a video, but like so damn tight. Like I could not believe just the tightness in that room. It was incredible. It was a throwback song, and it was funny when we were watching that gentleman break down the recording process of it, where everything was in stereo except the drums were mono. And that's such an old school Motown technique, where it's kind of like, drums are straight down the middle mono, and now you have all this space on the sides for everything else. So like when all the big group vocals came, the gang vocals came in, it was like, it popped and it filled up the whole like space. It was awesome. Like that was such a good just use of, like, it wasn't even a throwback, it's just how to modernize the idea of that, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a nice blend.
It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice blend of the old mixing with the newer kind of orchestration. And I mean, you touched on it. I mean, Anderson Paak. I mean, as me being a drummer, I don't know how guys sing over top of it, but what he plays and sings together, nobody does. Nobody does that.
It's like, it's so counterpoint,
100%. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of singing drummers that are very, very good, but to me, he just takes the cake. I don't know how he's separating the two and making it sound so good, and he really lays back on the beat, which I think is even harder when you're trying to sing and play at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just check the song out. I think it's Leave the Door Open.
Yeah.
I think it's the name of the track.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say, because when you think of drummers who sing, you always think of like your Phil Collins and your Don Henley and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, what they're playing is fairly straight. Not that they're obviously can't take away any talent for them for that kind of thing, but it's fairly straight what they're playing compared to kind of what he was doing, which was just a whole nother animal. And obviously we haven't even touched on Bruno Mars yet, because it's kind of like he's like the head of this super group. And it's like, and you and I talk about this all the time. I think the one video of his I watch all the time was, I forget what year it was, maybe 2015, maybe 2014, his Super Bowl performance.
It's so good.
Do you remember what year it was? Dude,
No,
I watch that all the time. That is like the most phenomenal performance. So good. He's just such a talent, and I love it's at the point where he can now do whatever he wants, and people will love him, and that's cool. And I respect him for working up to that point. We're doing a lot of the pop stuff and a lot of the ghostwriting and all that kind of thing, and then him just being like, we're doing this now. And he's so in his element. Like, he's made for that kind of stuff. So I was so happy you sent that my way. I had no idea that was even going to be a thing. Holy shit. Like,
I'm glad it is a thing.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, man. But I think that was the perfect big beat of, whoa, I can't even say it. Big beat your meat? Beat your meat? Big beat of the week.
Right.
That's what we're looking for.
Big meat of the week.
That was big meat of the week. Well, I think you're on the wrong podcast for that one.
Oh, yeah.
But I was going to say, that was a great choice for this big. But Will, the real reason that we are here today is we have a topic and we have a question for this week. So it is question time. So our question for this week is kind of compiling of a couple things that have been asked to us over time. But in the modern era of music and entertainment, it is, I think, an incredibly important one. And to sum it up, it's, do you need a manager? As a band or as an artist, do you, in this modern day, do you need a manager? And I think that's just an insanely interesting kind of topic for us, for you and I being, independent musicians and artists and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still are always trying to figure this question out, and I think it'll always be a discussion for us, I think, forever and ever and ever. That's a really good question.
Oh, totally. Well, I was going to say, because you and I have chased for the longest time, we were kind of like trying to always get a management label or get on management contract or a record label or anything like that, and you and I have stopped doing that kind of thing. For the longest time we were chasing that, and now we're kind of like, you know what? We've really changed our minds on it. And I think one of the big things in modern day is internet and what like promoters actually do. And I think the thing that we realized was, why would we be hiring these people who could essentially are just essentially doing what we could do on our own, and we've done it ourselves, So from working with, the band and myself, what's kind of some stuff that you pull from that? Because obviously the first thing that comes to mind for me is the fake email address. I'm going to give away all my secrets here, but the fake email
don't do
address
it.
that we had.
Yeah, I mean, we've been through. It's been a roller coaster ride with the whole manager thing,
to say the least. Oh boy.
It's probably putting it lightly, but I think maybe it's emotion based. I mean, I think when we felt so desperate, we thought that we needed a manager, that we needed people. Oh my God, we need help. We need help. But I think you can get yourself into trouble, and I think we have in the past. But it's one of those things where it sounds good, where it looks good on paper. But I think we've been just so disappointed so many times by people that said, "Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get you that, you're gonna open for so and so," and it's just it never happens, and you end up splitting ways.
Yeah.
It's tough. I like I said, I think we're always it's gonna be a constant battle for us, because there are some pros to having a representative, of the group. But like,
definitely,
I think
yeah.
even at any level of where you're at as a musician, you will deal with the same issue, because I know people that are on a higher level that have gotten totally screwed over by management people. Somebody who's like selling out shows, for big money, like still are owing managers a crap ton of money.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because these managers promise this. Oh, I've worked with so and so, and that's how I got them, their big break, and then you get signed up with them, and all of a sudden, you owe them $500,000, and you're like,
oof.
Oh, great, I'm not making that money.
Yeah. Now that reminds me of the story you had shown me. I believe it was Alan Stone. Was that the problem that he had?
That's kind of what I was.
That was like literally his same. Yeah.
Going off of, and it was a manager that I believe worked with Alicia Keys.
Oh man. Yeah.
And I think Alan Stone ended up owing the dude $300,000.
That's bananas. The
it's
biggest bushel of bananas you could have.
Yeah. Really
yes,
good
he
TED
did do a
talk
TED Talk. It was really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And he talks about kind of similar, like how he thought that this was going to be it. And, there was really high expectations for this individual. And look where it got him, nowhere, bankrupt.
Such a shame.
Yeah. But Alan Stone's doing really, really well, and good for him, but he kind of was, branched off and did his own thing and made it work. So that kind of brings us to us. I think that's kind of where we're at in this stage in the game. But I mean, what about for you? I mean, this is your pride and joy. This is your baby. How is it trying to kind of have somebody else kind of take the reins a little bit? It's got to be difficult.
I would never say. Yeah, I was gonna say I would never say it's someone entirely taking the reins. It's more so, this is my row of horses, and you're putting a couple of your own horses into my, to pull my carriage, I guess you could say. Because, I never want to ever hand the reins over, because the thing I hated with any of the managers that we've worked with, they are never 1,000% completely on board or sure with what we're trying to do or accomplish, and that's the hardest part. And it's a shame, because there's a lot of venues and a lot of places and opportunities who want artist representation. They don't want to talk to the artist, and that was I think the the best, one of my favorite things I've done. And this is a little tip for all you artists out there trying to get better gigs. I had, every time I'd be reaching out with emails to these venues or opportunities for gigs or whatever, they would either not respond to me, or they dick us around if we had like an asking fee for, art for playing or whatever, or they would just never take it seriously. I made through my site, my website, because I got X amount of emails I could make, I made an email where it was just bookings@charleslaurita.com. And it was a completely different name. It was our manager. He or she went through a couple different names through the years. Right now she's Jennifer Carr. Sounds like a cute British girl. And Jennifer's gotten us some good gigs, man. I remember you and I went down to location can't be disclosed, but we went down to a place near
Detroit. Oh yeah.
And Jennifer got us this gig. I will say that the gentleman who we had talked to, who ended up screwing us over in the end, his name was Chris Brown, so we should have kind of seen that coming.
Yes.
That was pretty funny because it's like, wow, with a name like that.
Womp womp.
But he was asking, he was like, oh, it's because I think at the time the email, the name was Jerry. The guy's name was Jerry.
It was Jerry, yeah.
Jer, and he was like, oh, is Jerry gonna be at the gig? And I was like, who the fuck is Jerry? And I was like, oh no, and I was like, oh, he lives in Delaware. Nah, he's not gonna be there though. I'll tell him he said hi. Like I had to make up this thing because it was this fake email. It was a fake person, and I even changed my writing style to match to what I was doing. I mean, I had gotten a couple great things from that, and it sucks I have to play this stupid game. But I've done it, and it's gotten us some decently good opportunities, which is great. So right there, kind of tells you you don't need any sort of management in that regard. You can literally do it yourself. It's the whole idea where it's like, business cards make you professional. It's that whole kind of thing. I have a buddy of mine. A buddy of mine did attorney work, and he was saying one of his friends he knew did attorney work, and he would go to these job fairs and not even have any office set up, but he made business cards for himself, and he would hand out business cards, and people would think it was professional, and he got all these clients to do work for, and it's like, it's one of those kind of things.
It's all
it's
the
not
image.
even, and it sucks again. It sucks as an artist, you have to do things like that, but at the same time, it is easy enough to kind of be able to do that, because I mean, you have so many just sleazy people out there wanting to take advantage of you for one reason or another. Like our buddy Bob Man from the Bob Culture podcast, who has graced this show with us, he said one of the foulest words in the world is promoter, because I mean, those kinds of people really, really do. There are some good ones here and there, but they can really take advantage of you, which is a shame for doing work that you could essentially do. We've had our problems with that. We had the one. It was the story that I told about where my father lifted the guy up off the ground by his shirt collar because that guy was a promoter and he didn't treat us very well. Jokes on him because he's probably dead now.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it just sad that people don't take you seriously unless you have somebody that's
horribly sad.
Yeah, that's pretending to be a manager, that we have to play this game. Yeah. Instead of you reaching out as
ridiculous.
As the lead guy in the group saying, hey, we'd love to play here, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Send a fake email with a fake manager. Oh, yeah, are you guys available?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's so bad. Because that's whenever I've done asking prices or things, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're not going to get paid. You're going to get exposure, or our favorite word. But I would go reach back out with, Jennifer. Jennifer would go reach out, and had no problem getting our asking price, which was great. So it's kind of like, wow, what a horrible thing I have to do and be shady and shitty in that regard. But at the same time, it's it's the only way we get in.
Gotta
and it's
play
horrible,
the game,
it's
baby. Yep.
It's never skill anymore. It is never about skill. It's about money. It's about who you know, how many people you're going to bring out. It's this whole other vicious cycle of bullshit.
Yep.
It's absolutely awful. But a fun story. When I say fun story, I mean a horrible time period in my life was right when you started. When you joined the band with us, when we were on a management label, or so we thought, which is just crazy to think about now, because you had been in the band for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'd say
because it was a result of someone listening. Yeah, it was a result of someone listening to our radio show that we were on, and we got offered a management contract, and we were like, holy shit, this is it. He talked a big game, this dude. Obviously we can't I could name names, I could smear everything all over the walls, but I'm not necessarily going to, because I don't want to give the man any more credit than he deserves, because he deserves none. But he was a child star from the 70s. Most of people listening, your parents would probably 1,000% know who he is. and he reached out and he had a boutique management label and he owned a bunch of bars and restaurants in Manhattan. And myself, my parents, and my sax guy, Mr. Chandler Scales, we went to have lunch and meet with him, and we had people look over the contract. We had, attorneys involved and everything, and notarized, and it seemed great, and it was good. And then we come to find out he had no team at all. Everyone had left him, and we signed under these false pretenses. And he stopped caring about us. He was basically like, in the beginning, you want to talk about someone beating their meat. Good Lord, that's all he did. He stroked us off like incredibly. And he promised nothing. We got no gigs from this man. We got no opportunities. He essentially took on another younger person that he could mold in the studio to be just generic classic. Yeah, molded by the darkness. Just to be generic classic rock bullshit kid. And he was just being a 14-year-old kid being puppeted by these older guys. And it was sad. Because we already had our sound, we have our albums, we have our recordings, and he was like, well, you guys are too old now, you don't have the look, and it was completely counterpoint to what he said originally, which was such a shame. Man, that was like one of the worst experiences of my life. We were in that contract, I think, for over a year. It was supposed to be a 3-year contract, and we got out of it.
He literally provided nothing. Zero. Like, he gave us zero.
Yeah, I remember when he was saying he was going to... The one thing he was planning to do is to pitch us to some record labels. And I was like, what do you got so far? It's been 2 months. And he was like, oh, I got this. I'm going to send it. It was like 2 links that he had in a Facebook message he was going to send to the record people. And I was like, are you shitting me? Like, I made a press kit for this guy, and he didn't use it. It was terrible. And he, I would always call him, and I'd be like, this is what you're doing wrong. What he didn't understand in the matter, it's when you have a manager, the manager's not the boss. It's, I am the boss. You work for me. That's how this works. And he could not understand that kind of a thing. And I had to put my foot down and, in a nice way, reprimand him. I didn't get verbally intense, but I had to tell him like it was. I was like, you're not doing anything. And he was like, well, you can leave this contract anytime you want. And I was like, no, I can't. Have you ever read your contract? Because you don't have an exit clause in this. So he had to actually talk to our attorney. He had to talk to my attorney, and we were able to dissolve the thing. And it was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. Because then at the end, he was basically just like, yeah, it never would have worked. You're a hard sell. There's no market, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
then why bring us...
opposite to what you had told us a year ago.
Yeah, then why go through all this?
So now they've heard it from my end over here, and of this person speaking, bullshit in my ear and me loving it. But we've never really heard from your point of view, because now you had just joined the band, so to speak. Like, what was going through your head when you initially heard about it? Like when it was like, holy God, we have this former child star has all these connections, You barely even knew my last name. You were in the band. Like, that's how early it was.
Yeah, it was very, very early. And I was, honestly, that was like a high point in my life, was that point in time, because I thought that this was it. I thought this is what I've dreamed about from as a kid, that this is going to be the beginning of, us taking off and, having a great career in music and living off of it. And I'm like, we played this radio show and this guy heard it, and, he offered us a contract. I'm like, I mean, this is it. I'm going to quit my job tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I was ready.
I mean, I was telling everybody, like, we're so excited. We had that huge party too. Remember we did. I must have blocked that out of my memory. Yes, we had the live radio show event. We had like a local indie station with a big reach do a radio show for us, and it was emceed and everything. And we also played, and we had a panel, and everyone asked us questions, and we were announcing like the new album and all that kind of stuff. We're talking to announce we're on this management label. It's a big deal. And people to this day still ask about that label. I'm like, oh, you guys do anything? It's like, no, that guy's dead to me. Yeah, he called in and was like, praising us and telling, everybody, like, friends and family all came. And like, now I look back and I'm like, that's embarrassing. Like,
I forgot that even happened. Wow. Like, I forgot that he called in and all that stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember we also had that really big live event we did in that big banquet hall room that we did, because he wanted us to film us playing live. And it was literally like that week we saw him, he's like, yeah, have a video of you guys playing live and edit it and give it to me. We're going to shop it around. And I think it was like 3 weeks later we got this big event, like 250 people plus, at the big banquet hall in Cedar Gardens, and we did that, and like that was an amazing night. That was an amazing gig that we had an opening band for us, and then we played, and we filmed it. I busted my fucking balls to edit this thing. We had sound I compiled from all different boards and all different things, and it was just like, and it led to nothing, and that was horrible. I think the only thing he ever did for us was we had a music video come out at the time, and he shared it on his wall on Facebook, and that was it.
Yeah, and you know what? It did really well when he shared it on his page, because he's got a huge following. It did. And I'm like, this is what you're supposed to be doing, like, every day, is promoting us. And you have a great reach on Facebook, and he only shared our stuff one time.
I had to ask him. He didn't even do that on his own. I had to ask him. And I think the best part about that, the most redeeming thing that I got from him, was the gentleman who was the voice of Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle, from the live-action movie in the 80s. He liked, or 80s or 90s, I forget when the first film came out, he commented on the video and thought it was awesome. And that was the highlight of that. That was the best thing I got. Michelangelo approved. That was the best thing I got from any of that. And other than that, it's like the dude was just spoke wonders and shat blunders. Like, that's what it was. Like, it was what a fucking horrible experience. And I just have always spoken now about, like, I don't want anyone to go through this, because it was terrible. I was like, however old I was, like, my hair turning white prematurely, and it was terrible.
I mean, yeah, and it's like,
you know,
how do you tell somebody to, like, be mindful or watch out for stuff like this? Because we thought, like, his background and his name was good enough that, like, oh, this is probably legit. But, like, as we started digging deeper and deeper, searching the web and finding out, like, he's the only one. There's nobody else. Everybody jumped ship.
Yeah, I mean, that's taught me to be just so apprehensive, and I just literally trust no one, because you never know, and that's the worst part for any artist in the field looking for management. You really truly never know what a lot of these people are doing or are capable of, or actually if they can even help you. Because that's like, managers would approach us all the time. They'd be like, oh, we want to be your booking guy. We can get you in this place, we can get you that place, we can get you place. I'm like, well, I have contacts with these places, so I don't really need you, and I'm not going to pay you to do that. Or I do it myself. Like, I don't need to have someone drag their feet. Because we've worked with management in recent years who've, you know, gotten us gigs in some fairly seedy places. And, you know, it's not like the best thing in the world. Or we've had managers who try to work with us who think they're essentially God's gift to the earth, so to speak, whichever God you'd like to choose from. And now they're saying things on our behalf and giving us a bad name.
Like the one manager that was like an exterminator on the side?
Yeah, the infamous cockroach incident of 2019. That was my absolute favorite.
That's a classic.
Yeah. So there, actually, that she kind of helped us, because that built a nice bridge between myself and this venue whenever we can play it in the future. But it was, she contacted the one place, or she went there, and she wanted to speak to the guy, and he didn't want to talk to her. And, you know, she kept kind of pestering, and she said, look, if you don't talk to me and book this band, I'm going to tell everyone that you have cockroaches in this establishment, and you're going to get shut down and never have business again. And I remember her telling me this on the phone, so proud, and I was like, holy shit, are you fucking kidding me? And I would just tell her, I was like, why would you say that? That she's like, oh, that'll teach him. And I was like, did we get a gig from it? And she was like, well, no, they said no. And I'm like, oh my fucking
what
God.
A surprise.
So I had dude, I just feel my heart rate like rising as I'm telling this stupid story.
PTSD.
I called the place and infamously, this place has people who work there aren't like the most people-friendly people there. But the one woman there, she answered, and I told her what happened. I was like, look, I want to apologize. I am so sorry. I'm not working with this, manager anymore. Like, that is terrible. She did this. It was fucking awful. And the lady was like really, really cool about it, where she was like, oh, it's okay. It's so nice that you called to apologize. That's terrible to shoot. I'm like, yeah, it was the most unprofessional thing like you could have done.
Yeah.
Like, I was waiting for her to be like, oh, I'll hold my breath, or like, I'm going to take a shit on your floor if you don't give me a gig. Like, what? Well, I don't want that. That is terrible.
That'll get us the gig.
And that was like my last straw. I was like, I don't want to do any management, any promotion stuff, unless you can guarantee me you can just get me gigs and not like tell a place you're going to light it on fire if they don't book us. Like, oh my God, dude.
I just couldn't believe a grown adult twice our age said that. I mean,
no, I remember us having band practice and telling everyone, and Chandler being next to us and being like, so did she get the gig? And I was like, no, she didn't. He goes, then what was the fucking point of all that? And I was like, exactly.
To prove a point.
Exactly. Oh my God, dude. That like, and it's like, I don't want that now representing my name. And that's another big part of it. It's like, this is our name. We can't have that, thrown in the mud. Because now people are going to think we had her up to this. And that's why I had to clear our name. I had to be like, look, we had no part in this. I had no idea she was going to do this. I am so sorry. Like, I will come in and wash dishes. Like, I don't know. Like, I felt so bad.
It's a great point. I mean, they are a representation of, the band, the group.
1,000%.
Yeah, and it's important that they act professional. At least we try to be professional. When we're doing our thing. We would expect the same for somebody on that level, and especially they're the ones doing a lot of the communication, the face-to-face work.
Yes.
And to throw something out like that, it's just like, oh, I wonder if this band, this is probably what they do to get all their gigs. And it's like, and
yeah.
We all know that the gossip in the music industry is crazy. And
it's relentless.
Yeah,
man.
Word travels fast. So, and that's the stories are literally endless with stuff like this. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but now
that's why I love the cockroach story, because we literally bring that up all the time. We're like, oh, just tell me of cockroaches. Like, we say that all the time as a joke.
It solves all life's problems. Now, God. I mean, is there any good that comes out of having a manager, for a band? And that's a tough that's a tough one to answer.
Well, I mean, if the workload gets bigger and, because my entire life thinking a manager was going to be like the manager in the Spice Girls movie, where he's super cool and booking him stuff and having him do things. And that would be great. I'd love that. The big double-decker bus and platform shoes. Yeah, I'd be 1,000% into that. But modern day, it's not like it once was, which is a shame, where it's a lot of people want higher pay and they want to do less work. And I think that's not shitting on any managers, but I personally haven't seen too much of a positive influence or positive example of any of that thing. I mean, yeah, a manager would be great. If you have a big workload and you need people to book you gigs and things like that, yeah, that's important. But I think there's always a way that you can do it yourself. And I think, we've been right now just kind of having a little shit fest on like why, our experiences, but I think one perfect example of not needing a manager, a record label, any of that is the band Wolfpack, who pretty much had their YouTube fame and skyrocketed. You turned me on to those guys, and I think they're all fabulous players. Like your Corey Wongs and your Joe Darts and all those guys, and
yeah.
I think they're monsters players, but they're a super unique story because they don't have a manager, they don't have a record label, and they played Madison Square Garden and packed it. Sold out show at Madison Square Garden. So their whole thing was, they kind of came to fame because they knew Spotify was terrible and they were able to kind of slap one back at Spotify where they had the Sleepify album, which was great, where it was like 20 tracks of just like silence, and they're like, play it while you sleep, put it on loop, and they made like what, $150,000 in streams.
They made a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, and Spotify had to like change their user agreements where it's like you have to have music in your thing and whatever. And they use that money, I think, for recording equipment and a US tour, and they did a great job with that. I loved it. They played Robin Hood, and I think that's so important because it's like, yeah, people are getting so screwed over like that. But it's incredible because they only used, their marketing on Instagram and YouTube for advertising for Madison Square Garden. They got there with no management or record label. Their ticket prices were between $40 and $60.
Yeah.
They sold the whole place out. That's phenomenal. They don't have any representation. They do it themselves. And I think that's beautiful. I think that is a testament to just hard work and artistry.
I mean, they even brought their own stage props, which is hilarious.
That was the best. That was the best part because they're from Ann Arbor. They're in Michigan, I think. And they shipped. They're like, what do we do on a giant stage in Madison Square Garden? And they shipped their couches and their rugs, the basement. It's all the basement stuff, and I love that. I thought that was amazing, and good for them. Like that's just incredible. To be able to just finesse that. I love that. Like they did such a good job, and they have such a good fan base, and they paid nothing for marketing. It was all just on the internet,
Oh yeah.
And it's like this incredible underdog story, and now they're huge. They're a big band, It's just like anyone that inspired me so much,
It's truly the best example. I mean, to be able to pull something off like that is incredible. Yeah. And they're a really good example of they understand kind of how the system works now, and they found ways to get around it and do it really well. And even a lot of the guys in that band are kind of branching off doing their solo things, and are still they're kind of doing it solo, and Corey Wong is a great person to follow, and he really is one that he never charges like for his stuff on YouTube, and plenty of free music and free advice of how to
he's fabulous. I love him
I mean,
so much.
He's just all those guys are just seem like really great dudes, and yeah, that is a great example of just putting in a little bit of hard work. And being creative and still being true to yourself, and you sell out a show at Madison Square Garden. I still chuckle every time I think about that. I mean,
dude, it was so inspirational where I was like, and that was kind of when that happened, I was like, we don't need any of this extraneous noise.
Yeah.
We can just do this ourselves. It might take a little bit of work, but all good things do take a little bit of work, and that's not a bad thing,
Honestly, it was like pretty emotional when that show happened that week. I think it was 2 days. I was like, man, these guys literally started in the basement of somebody's mom's house, and they were able to pull all this off by themselves. And I mean, I still to this day is one of my favorite, I think, moments. It's a huge moment actually in music in general,
man.
I don't know what they got going on now, but I mean, they've done it.
They made their place in music history, and I think that's very important. One of my favorite guys in that group is Theo Katzman. I think that dude is just a monstrous musician.
Super underrated.
It's great because obviously Corey Wong is a monster too. It's great because they all play everything, which I think is so cool.
I hate it. Makes me feel terrible.
I know. It's just they're incredible. But that is the most beautiful example of just hard work and perseverance. And I wish I would take my own advice better because I do get frustrated. But there's always going to be some kind of silver lining with the little things you can do. I mean, to wrap this guy up, you have you take the good, you take the bad, facts of life. That's what you got. But it is difficult sometimes. So obviously this is just our, kind of realizations of what we've gone through and what's happened. And sometimes it's not always great. Sometimes you have some redeeming qualities, but you as an artist need to on your own really see what works best for you. Maybe you would like someone to represent you in management. For us, we're kind of really doing our own thing because we have more control over it. And that's a big thing, is control. William, how would you like to eloquently wrap this up, as you always do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could go either way. I think you said it perfectly, as it's kind of, you got to do what's best for you. With the management side, you may be at a point in your career where, something like that makes sense. And if you find somebody that you trust and has a good, repertoire, go that avenue. But for those that are struggling, it's, look at people like we mentioned before, like with Wolfpack, and all they did was work hard and persevered, and they were able to do it as well. So, I think the important thing is you got to still kind of stay true and be you at the end of the day, whether that means get representation or don't. I mean, because either way, you can lose yourself and where you're at in your music career, and it's important to stay focused on you and sounding like you, and most importantly. But yeah, I mean, you got to do what feels right.
Yeah, I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Mr. Will Sarver with the best advice you've probably ever gotten out of this show. Be true to yourself.
Do you.
I think that is so goddamn perfect. Do you, and do you better than everyone else. And I think that can either be wonderful advice or a horribly dirty innuendo. I don't really know.
I like both.
But thank you guys. I like both too. Thank you guys at home so much for watching and listening to the Drop the Beat podcast for this week. If you would like to support us on Patreon, you can go to charleslaurita.com. And you can become one of our patrons. You get your name at the end of any of the videos that we do as a little thank you to you guys. We also have a bunch of merch up right now, too. So if you want to check out and get a cool Drop the Beat shirt or a nice Mischief shirt, rep the Rat Cave a little bit in your hometown, wherever you may gather in your village. Yeah, baby. But as we like to say at the end of this damn thing, my name is Charles Laurita.
And my name is Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
See ya.